I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and the stage, I believe, was 2B, and it was 19 years ago. Well, I was working in a bar at the time, and I started coughing. Just when I was talking, I couldn't finish a sentence without having these short, shallow coughs, and that there was no fluid or anything like that. They're just dry coughs, and I felt fluish, and that was like always usually around the same time of the day, late afternoon or so. It was strange. And so I thought I was having some type of allergic reaction since I was working in a bar
in Europe. A lot of smoking.
A lot of smoking. I hate smoke. Always hated smoke. Still hate smoke. And anyway, so I thought I had some type of allergic reaction. And so when I went to the doctor, they at first just gave me a different medicine. They had contemplated doing an x-ray, but then they sent me away for 3 weeks. And then that doctor felt very, very guilty once he finally did the x-ray.
Yeah.
But he was very good. He followed up all the time on my status. So.
And then you were also having a little bit of pain in your shoulder.
Oh yeah, I was having pain in my shoulder
sweats.
And night sweats, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
See, she's good to have around when I forget things. The specialist thought I had some type of rare gland disease that causes swelling of the glands, lymph nodes. Then they did the biopsy and realized, no, it's non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. After that, they decided right away, I started chemo right away, but they didn't give me a high probability of surviving because the tumor was so large. Well, I had multiple tumors, but the main tumor was on the lungs. It was so large, they thought it was probably already, the feelers were probably already in the heart and the lungs, but they were not. So they didn't give me much hope at the beginning. But since I had a very good response to the chemo, after a month or so, a month and a half, something like that, they were talking about a transplant because I had an identical twin sister, and that they knew with everything else, my health outside the cancer was very, very good. My attitude was very, very good. Everything was in my favor outside the cancer. So they decided that was the best option.
As far as my decision to become a donor, having an identical twin, I really didn't have to take much time to even contemplate it. I mean, looking at what she was potentially dealing with, it was a pretty easy decision for me, knowing that I basically just have a simple operation and they extract bone marrow from me. There are some risks, but really in my calculation it was pretty minimal compared to what she was going to have to go through. So, and knowing that it was an identical match, I knew that there was no reason really why I shouldn't do it. It's not like I'd have to question whether it would even be effective. Or have to deal with the host versus graft disease and that sort of thing. As far as how much pain and discomfort that I went through as a donor, it was very, very minimal. Yes, I did get a week off of work for it, which I actually enjoyed.
Paid.
And paid, yes. So I appreciated that. It was a feeling like nothing that I'd ever felt, though, since they do extract the bone marrow from basically the hip bone.
At that time, yeah.
And the feeling that I had was just something really odd, where you just feel like there's something sort of creaky in your bones a little bit. At least that's how I felt, and slight discomfort, but it really wasn't anything at all as far as pain level. I was able to go back to work after a week, and it only took maybe about a month or so until I felt completely back to normal.
Well, in the beginning, the initial therapy with the chemo, and had the chemo in the spine as well, it went really, really well. The chemo in the spine was hard, but the chemo symptoms for the other part was really easy on me. Once I got into the hospital in Switzerland where I had it done, they still had the isolation tents. And so I went in there in the beginning of August, and I was out. It took three months. It was going to go relatively easy for me, is what they had foreseen, but I ended up having almost every side effect possible. But I was very, very, very well treated. They had excellent doctors, and you felt really supported. Recovery time, I think probably, they might be able to tell me a little bit better, because sometimes you're sort of in your own little world where you don't always notice where you were at compared to where you are at the moment, and when you're living it, you don't always see the full picture as to how you forget where you used to be. Like you forget what energy level you used to have or different things like that. I think probably a good year before I could really function fully normally. They might have, my sister might have a little bit better insight in certain ways. I was very, very tired. It takes a lot of energy out of you. I still have a fatigue problem, but I'm very happy and very pleased with the results. What I could recommend to someone that had to, was basically informed by their doctors that they need to have a transplant, I would, they need to be aware of that it's going to be hard, but that nothing's impossible, and just to have a strong spirit and the family and love support that they need around them, and good doctors. And nurses are also very, very important.
For someone who's considering being a donor, I would encourage them strongly to go through with it, that it's a life-changing experience for themselves and also the person they're donating to. It's a very easy procedure on the donor side, from my experience, really. I think that it's really quite safe, and I would encourage them to go through that. They would I don't think they would ever regret it, and they would be giving someone a second chance at life, and also just, like as we say, it's more blessed to give than to receive, so I would definitely encourage somebody to do that without hesitation.